Deservedly so. Look, if you show up and you're the commissioner of a conference and it folds, that's like job one for you, is to keep the league together. Whether or not you're innovative or forward thinking or any of these kind of qualities, or whether you're well-spoken in public, or whether you're a good mediator, whether you got a legal background or a TV background or a football background, whatever your qualifications, strengths, or weaknesses may be as a commissioner of a league, any league, rule one, keep the league together. Like, keep it alive. And he failed at that. So he deserves blame for that. And it reminds me of what we've seen over the last 2 years in professional golf. And y'all that listen to this show know my feelings about live golf. You probably misconstrue them to an extent. There's a lot of people that say, oh, well, you hate competition. You hate guys making decisions for their family. You hate and that's never been true. What I hate is the fact that Bryson DeChambeau shot a 58 last weekend, and it was at the Greenbrier on WB's app against washed-up Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood and Phil Mickelson and cashed-out Dustin Johnson and Taylor Gooch. I would rather him shoot that at the Players against Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm than go do it on the WB app. That's been my beef with LIV, is that it's split the sport in half. We'll put that to the side. Jay Monahan's been just destroyed. The commissioner of the PGA Tour, destroyed for allowing this stuff to happen and not doing more to help his sport and to keep the tour aligned and to keep the talent on tour. And yes, they've made some reactionary things on the PGA Tour. They've created these designated / signature events. They've created the PIP, all to incentivize great players to stick around and get more money. But it was reactionary. The parallel that I draw between the Pac-12 and its demise and the PGA Tour and what ended up happening with LIV is the fact that when you are at a massive financial deficit, there's only so much you can do. The Saudi investment fund is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. You can't compete with that as the tour. If guys are going to go take $100 million signing bonuses to go play for $4 million purses, there's not that much you can do. You can't compete with that directly. If they go to Bryson and they say, hey, man, here's $200 million. The PGA Tour can't go, hey, man, what do you need? Here's $201 million. Stick around. Come on out to the Waste Management next week. Like, that doesn't, you can't fight fire with fire in that way. Same thing for George Kliavkoff in the Pac-12. He is fighting at a massive disadvantage financially when you're dealing with the Big Ten. And I know that you know that, but I put some numbers to it this morning. The Big Ten signed a television contract in 2022 with Fox, CBS, and NBC, 7 years, $7 billion. That's going to pay the schools once this gets rolling and USC and UCLA are fully in and all that kind of stuff. Essentially, it's going to start paying these schools $80 to $100 million a year. $80 to $100 million a year. That's like the LIV check. And George Kliavkoff can only come back with his deal with Apple for 20. It's like the PGA Tour. We've got some money. It's like here, it's not nothing. We don't have all that. And all of a sudden, you got USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon looking around going, wait a second, if I sign for 20 and Purdue's getting 80 or 90 and I'm $70 million behind them a year, all of a sudden I'm $210 million to the bad on Purdue in 3 years. And that's kind of what the PGA Tour golfers that would go to LIV could say. Like, look how much money I'd be leaving on the table. If we're just talking about money, which in this case we are, like, I can't compete. How are you supposed to compete with that? Now, George Kliavkoff could have gotten the deal done earlier, before all the networks agreed with ESPN to the SEC and those with the Big Ten, and maybe could have gotten something done sooner when the TV networks weren't tapped out. And he deserves some blame for that. And Jay Monahan could have been a little more proactive, and he deserves some blame for that. But, like, if you're George Kliavkoff, like, look at these numbers. Pac-12 attendance last year at football games on average. Washington State, 26,000 people a game. Stanford, 29,000 a game is what they drew. Let's go up to the good teams then. Utah, 52,000. They won the league. That's comparable to Mississippi State down here. Like State averaged 60,000 a few years ago pre-COVID. Oregon, 54,000. Again, that's comparable to Mississippi State. USC drew 64,000 a game last year. Oh, by the way, they're 22nd nationally in attendance, and their capacity is over 90,000. They're only filling 2/3 of the Coliseum. You don't have anybody in your league in the top 22 in attendance. That's one indication of a lack of passion, a lack of interest. Here's the other one that's far more important. TV ratings. That's where all this cash is coming from. Michigan, Ohio State last year drew 17.5 million viewers. 17.5 million viewers watched Michigan, Ohio State. Highest viewed game in the Big Ten. In the SEC, the highest viewed game was Tennessee, Georgia. 13 million viewers took that one in. Well, you know if you're George Kliavkoff and you're going to Apple, you don't have USC or UCLA anymore. They're gone. So if you show them the numbers, say, well, this is our highest rated game from last year. It's Oregon, Oregon State. 3.5 million. That is 4 times fewer than the SEC's top dog. That is 6 times fewer than the Big Ten's top dog. Inevitably, this was going to happen. There's nothing you can do unless your members do what Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, Justin Thomas, what they did. They said, yeah, we are going to turn down the massive money because we believe this is the right place to be. And if you could get USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington and Arizona State and Utah, all those to go, yeah, we need this thing's going to die. We need to stick together and figure something out. Then maybe you've got a fighting chance. But the fact of the matter is that Rory McIlroy and John Rahm and Jordan Spieth are already rich, and they can compete with the best golfers in the world with what they've got. If USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington allow Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Georgia and Florida and LSU and Alabama and Texas A&M and Texas and Oklahoma to cash in $80, $90, $100 million a year in media rights, and you've got 20, you have no chance to win a championship. None. So I can draw that parallel all the way to the end, and then it falls apart. But the fact of the matter is that you can rip Jay Monahan all you want, you can rip George Kliavkoff all you want, and they deserve criticism for allowing their organizations to be poached. But when you're fighting money that you can't run with, I don't know how much there is you can do. Now, there's a reason that I'm not in mergers and acquisitions, and I'm not dealing with massive buyouts and business negotiate. I'm not a titan of industry. I'll be the first to sit here and tell you that. But I can look at numbers and go, oh, 20 million, not as good as 100. So in the end, that's what it's going to come down to. And George Kliavkoff can't get to 100. He just can't. You can't get to 100. You don't have the passion. You don't have the interest. You don't have the brands. You don't have it. Just not out there. Pac-12 football is an aspect of West Coast life. SEC football is a way of life. We schedule our weddings around them. We schedule engagement parties around them. Children's birthday parties. We block out hours upon hours of days where nothing is acceptable except watching football. They feel the same way in Ann Arbor, in Columbus, in Happy Valley. And that's why they get 104,000 people to go to games that matter. It's not the same out there. It was never going to be the same. So 4 of the teams latched onto the cash when they could, and the rest of them are going to fend for themselves at a lower level. I feel a little bit for George Kliavkoff, like I felt a little bit for Jay Monahan, because eventually you're bringing a rusted butter knife to a firing squad. And that's what happened. That's our look, probably last look for a little while at realignment, as it just kind of happened pretty quick there. And all of a sudden the Pac-12 ceases to exist. J.D. Pickell, we're going to talk a little bit about that with him, but mostly SEC quarterbacks will be on the docket with our guy from 1-3 Sports. He's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What If Wednesday coming at you in 15 minutes. Get your what ifs into the Bayou Ford chat and at Hunt Palmer 88 on Twitter. But before we get to that, let's get to our guy JD Piquel from On 3 Sports, host of the Hard Count, joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. JD, how are you?
Brother, doing phenomenal. You see that Johnny Manziel doc?
I haven't yet.
Electrifying.
I'm going. I got to watch Hard Knocks. I got to watch the Manziel doc. I got some things to catch up with to the end of the week. But I mean, tell me your takeaways. I mean, you were watching Manziel when he was doing his thing.
Man, I was locked in. Yeah, I mean, it was really, really well done. You got a lot of like the inside stories that you probably wanted from Texas A&M. My thing was like, man, how do we fit this entire rise and fall that was so meteoric into an hour and 12 minutes? Like, I would have loved for a 4-part series like we're going to get for the Florida Gators doc. Kind of makes you think like, hey, Hulu, maybe we get you off the bench, get in the second half here, get warmed up, and we get a little 3-parter in for Johnny football. I don't know. So that was my takeaway. Really good. Would have liked a little bit more of more runtime there.
Johnny Manziel 0-2 against the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Huge stat. Hope that was well included in the documentary. Speaking of quarterbacks and A&M quarterbacks as it is, I want to talk some SEC quarterbacks with you and some races that are ongoing in fall camp. Connor Wigman, I thought was pretty impressive late in his freshman year. Certainly played a solid game against LSU in the finality. Those around here in Baton Rouge know about Max Johnson. Where do you stand on the Texas A&M quarterback competition, if there is one?
You know, it's so fascinating because for the majority of the offseason, I think all of us, myself included, talked about Texas A&M and their quarterback room as, okay, they got Connor Wegman. Like, I was having to remind myself and check rosters like, hey, is Max Johnson still there? Like, is that guy that allowed them to be, at the time, ranked Miami team, be a ranked Arkansas team. Like, he had some pretty quality games under his belt, even if he wasn't putting up video game numbers. Like, I thought he was still a really solid option for them. Even with that being said, I think the end of last year kind of committed you to the Connor Wegman experience. Like, I think he's too talented, and if they can course correct some things with that offense and put him in position to succeed under Bobby Petrino, he's probably your guy. But I would not be surprised in the slightest if they hold off on naming a starter as we get closer and closer to the season. So 2 really good options, but I think Wegman's probably your guy you go with based on what you saw last year.
Let's go to Oxford, which has maybe the most interesting quarterback situation because you've got an incumbent that was pretty good. Then you've got a transfer who started for like 100 years at Oklahoma State in Spencer Sanders, and they bring in Walker Howard from Baton Rouge as well as a freshman in that class. So when you look at the situation in Oxford, how do you handicap it?
You know, I think going into this whole situation, like Spencer Sanders transferring there felt a lot like, okay, he's kind of going to be the guy, RPO scheme, he's a really good dual threat, maybe that's a good fit. But Hunt, the further we get into this thing, after we got out of spring ball, like if Spencer Sanders was going to be the guy, I think we would have seen a move from Jackson Dart by now. And I know that's not saying a ton with the way the transfer portal is structured right now, but I think there would have been more buzz around Jackson Dart's unhappy, or there would have been something that got out of Oxford, Mississippi saying, hey, Jackson Dart's not going to be the guy this year. It's going to be Spencer Sanders' team. And so far, it sounds like it's totally leaned the other way from all the buzz that we got on our end.
Do you think there's a chance that both guys play?
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm like in a war zone right now. They're trying to keep us from the college football talk we're trying to get into. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Spencer Sanders, I mean, clearly he has 1 year. I mean, that's it. Like, if he doesn't play this year, he's no more eligibility, fresh out of eligibility, as they say. And so I think to some degree, like, he's too good of an athlete to be limited to just not having a role at all. I think you put him in there for maybe, you know, some obvious run packages. Maybe you have a few trick plays in there. So, like, Spencer Sanders, I think, needs to and will see the field. But just the further and further we get into this thing, it really feels like it's Jackson Dart's job, and it sounds like he defended it.
Let's talk about Auburn. Robbie Ashford, really good athlete, played a lot for them last year, and they bring in Peyton Thorne from Michigan State. Where do you think that one heads?
Yeah, that one was kind of fascinating because I think somebody in Vegas, a certain sportsbook, I forget who it was, had Robbie Ashford actually as the betting favorite to be the starting quarterback for Auburn, which was a little bit surprising. I think everyone probably feels a similar way about this one. I don't think you bring in a Peyton Thorne just to hang out for a year, learn the offense, and wear a baseball cap and hold a clipboard. Like, I think he's probably your guy for better or for worse. The thing that's fascinating to me is it is very, very difficult at any position to come in after spring practice, digest the whole playbook, and hit the ground running without any issues, let alone to be the guy who's supposed to run the entire offense, which Peyton Thorne is going to be asked to do. So I think it's a better fit for him schematically than what he was asked to do at Michigan State. Michigan State was a little bit more pro style, a little bit more get through a few progressions. I think Auburn's going to be a lot more RPO heavy. Hey, make a quick decision, get the ball out of your hands quickly, get it to playmakers. So that'll be a whole thing in itself to watch. But in terms of who wins that job, I think you brought Peyton Thorne there for a reason. I think he's your guy day one.
Chatting with J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count on Three's YouTube channel. You can find him there each and every day. Georgia. Stetson Bennett moves on. What's next?
It feels like it's all but a done deal. I mean, Carson Beck and Brock Vandagriff are going back and forth during spring camp, spring practice, and then we saw the G Day, and it was kind of just like, oh, okay, well, I guess Georgia got another strong quarterback, another guy who's going to be able to get the ball to all their weapons. And the whole thing that's fascinating with Georgia around the Stetson Bennett era was Stetson Bennett, I think, has GOAT status in Athens. I mean, that's what Kirby Smart said about him after the national title game. Whether you agree with that or not, you got to take it up with Coach Smart. But with as good as he was, there were some things that physically he just wasn't as gifted to do as someone like a Carson Beck, I think, is going to be able to do. Like, he's a four-star guy coming out of high school. Stetson Bennett was a walk-on. Stetson Bennett developed a lot at Georgia. Carson Beck has likely had the same kind of development, being able to be in that offense for the last 3 years. So curious to see how it looks with Mike Bobo calling the shots, but I really think it's Carson Beck's job, and it's just a matter of announcing it. Keeping Brock Vandagriff on the team is huge for Georgia should something change because of what he brings with his legs, but I really think Carson Beck's your guy, and I think he's going to do a phenomenal job for them.
What do you think about Bobo?
I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I think he kind of gets a bad rap because of his other ventures at Colorado State and at South Carolina, but like people forget, he coached the SEC's all-time leading passer in Aaron Murray. Like, his offense has still had a lot of success. I think that this was orchestrated knowing that Todd Monken would at some point in time kind of get that itch to go to the NFL. But I really think it's kind of going to be the same song, second verse. Like, I don't think they're going to reinvent the wheel with what it did schematically. It'll still have a little bit of a different flavor having, lost Todd Monken to the league and have a new guy calling the plays. But I really think the formula will be the same. Our players are better than yours. Our offensive line is better than yours. We got Brock Bowers. We're going to get him the football a lot. And we're going to kind of keep the main thing here. So still very balanced, still pro style to a degree, but overall, I don't think you see a wildly drastic look from Georgia offensively.
Spencer Rattler threw for 1 billion yards against Tennessee and Clemson to end the regular season last year. Before that, it wasn't all that great. Are you ready to say that he's going to catapult himself to that kind of status for an entire season?
If he does, I think a lot has to be right around him. So much of Spencer Rattler's career has been, kind of up and down, and a lot of them made about his decision-making and the way that he started the year at South Carolina. And a lot of that is fair. Like, hey, you are the guy at quarterback. Like, you're going to get all the praise when things go well, like he did in the Tennessee and Clemson game. You're going to get a fair amount of the shade when things go wrong. And a lot of that is probably warranted. But you look at what South Carolina was last year, like, they could not run the ball to save their life. Like, they were one of the worst teams in the country, which tells me, okay, if they wanted to have success in a football game offensively, they're asking Spencer Rattler to be Superman. And I remember clear as day watching SEC Media Days a season ago, Shane Beamer takes the mic and says, we are not going to ask Spencer Rattler to be Superman for us. And so I think that's really how they want to live. I think he was being honest in that. But they got to have some more protection for him up front, and they got to be able to run the football better. And then on top of that, they got to be able to stop the run. So all that's to say, I think the ability for him isn't the question. I think he's probably grown in his decision-making since last year. My big question is, what do they have around him to make sure it's not just the number 7 show week in and week out, and we go as Spencer Rattler goes? So does he have the ability? Absolutely. I'm really, really curious, though, to see what those other variables hold as it pertains to his success.
Got 2 more here. Graham Mertz at Florida transfers in. Is he the guy, and what does he bring him?
Yeah, kind of the same thing with Peyton Thorne. Like, I think he came there to be the guy. I think he will be the guy. In a similar fashion, like we just talked about with Peyton Thorne, it maybe won't be quite as quarterback-driven as Auburn's offense, but it's going to be a lot of, hey, Graham Mertz, don't do too much, but when we ask you to make the throw, we need you to hit it. We need you to be consistent. And so I think that was one reason why they really liked him was, I mean, Billy Napier's talked about it a lot with his experience and starting 30-plus games in the Power 5. Like, for him, it's going to be, can you hit that deep post when those safeties creep up because Trevor Etienne's averaging 5 yards a carry? Or can you get the ball out of your hands quick when you see, you know, that linebacker creeping up and hit the slant and get it out of your hands to Ricky Pearsall, whoever ends up being. I think they're going to ask him to be a distributor. But the thing is, like, when you have that open shot, when we've driven the lane enough where we kick it out to you to hit that three-pointer, like, you got to make that shot. So I'm very, very intrigued by Florida because of what they did last year with AR and how quarterback-heavy that was. How do they pivot to more of a complementary style of offense? That's going to be fascinating. So what does he bring in short? I mean, he brings experience. He brings it in spades.
I think it's interesting that Florida goes from a quarterback with all the gifts to a quarterback with very few of the gifts, but it doesn't mean they can't be more productive. It'll be interesting to see how Billy Napier runs that show. Last one here, Tuscaloosa. They're post Bryce Young here. What do they got?
Yeah, they got a lot of options, huh?
Yeah.
Got a lot of options. Bringing in Tyler Buckner is kind of a thinker. Like, if you had the answer in-house or if you felt good about your answer in-house, you probably don't go out and get Tyler Buckner. To be 100% honest, I really think they got Tyler Buckner as insurance and to push that room. I don't think Tyler Buckner is your guy. Now, I could be wrong on that. He could start game one, and I could eat my words. But I think long-term, you have two really talented guys in Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. And taking a step further, my question with Tyler Buckner, he missed spring football too, and he won't have the issue with the learning curve with the offense as Tommy Rees was his former OC at Notre Dame. But, I mean, it takes a while to win over a locker room. And I think to win a locker room at a place like Alabama is really, really crucial. Like we talked about on our show a little bit, spring football and winter conditioning, those 2 times of the year, if you're a college football player, like you look back with fond memories, but as a whole, like those times suck. Like those are hard foxhole times where you are just in the thick of it with your boys, and that's where your leaders step up through those difficult and like kind of taxing times where the leaders are able to say, no, follow me. And so I don't think it's Tyler Buckner's fault, but now he's working with a few months here to try and, you know, get this team to buy in. So to pivot away from that, Jalen Milroe, as talented as he is, we talked to Greg McElroy at SC Media Days, and he's like, man, if you turn the ball over like Jalen Milroe did last year, Saban doesn't have a short memory. I don't think that's going to be something that he just sort of brushes off and forgets about. So the unknown is kind of undefeated right now with Ty Simpson, but I see 2 pretty large roadblocks for Tyler Buckner and Jalen Milroe to end up being the guy. So my prediction would be Ty Simpson plays and starts at some point during the year for Alabama, but Jalen Milroe consistently has a role, just too good of an athlete to not play.
Interesting. I think most people just assume Tyler Buckner's going to be the guy, but that's a different way to look at it, and I appreciate it, JD. We'll do it again next week, man.
You're the man. Talk to you soon, brother. Hey, enjoy that doc. Let me know your thoughts.
We'll do it, man. JD Piquel on 3 Sports, Hard Count, part of On3's YouTube channel. You can find college football content each and every day there on the On3 football, on the On3 YouTube channel. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday, Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like Chef Corey Barr. Corey Barr progressed in his culinary career to the point where he was on the Food Network star, beat Bobby Flay nationwide. But he comes back home to Monroe. That's where he operates his 3 businesses, and that's why Corey is a champion of Louisiana. Being a Louisianian is important to him, even though his star has spread nationwide. So being a champion of Louisiana is all about making our state better, and that's what LWCC wants to highlight in their Champions of Louisiana. You can go to lwcc.com/champions and see the champions of Louisiana right there. We've talked about a ton of them over the last year and a half, and Corey Barr, the latest that we have talked about. If you know of someone like Corey Barr, whether it's a person, a nonprofit, a business that's doing great things in our great state, nominate them to be a champion of Louisiana so that we can tell their story. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind. When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 7.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it. We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tigers off today, relaxation, rest day, recuperation day, however you want to call it. The Tigers not on the practice field, but we'll get a camp report coming up in 25 minutes from Matthew Bruni, part of the On 3 network over there with the Bengal Tiger. But right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. What if you could only eat one country's cuisine the rest of your life?
What would ours be? Like burgers,
well, it's like
chicken fingers and Skittles or something? Is that
like,
what we get credit for?
So much of our food is like from other countries.
So, I mean, I'm going to take that out of I mean, Italian comes to mind immediately, but that's pretty heavy stuff to be eaten all day, every day.
I got a good one, actually.
I love a good, fettuccine Alfredo. I love a great spaghetti. I love Italian food. I love Italian restaurants in town, but I'm not going to eat that every day. I think the answer here, as I think this through, is very clearly to me Mexican food.
Really?
Like, I could eat every meal the rest of the way on a tortilla, whether it's like a breakfast taco, fajitas, quesadilla, like an enchilada. Like I could do that. I could do some sort of tortilla the rest of the way.
I would say like Mediterranean, like Greek or
yeah,
Lebanese,
it's
something
fine.
Like
my wife's obsessed. I've got some friends.
It's good for you, and it's also tastes good, you know?
True, but I'm gonna go with the tortilla, the fajitas. I can do chicken.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's a good
I can
choice.
do like chorizo breakfast tacos.
Yep.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go Mexican there. It's none of this is gonna be very healthy for me at this
Yeah,
point.
that's true.
But that's for the flavor and the taste. That's where I'm gonna head.
What if you could relive through the pandemic?
Oh man, I'm gonna pass. That was a weird time for me. I'm single. Living in my house alone. I'm in insurance, not in radio at all. And so I literally wake up, walk to the kitchen table, work the day of insurance, and then I'm home alone. I was dating Alyssa at the time. We started dating in like August of 19, so went through that ridiculous football season, and then March hits, and we were spending weekends together, but like you couldn't go to dinner or do any of that kind of stuff. I think my regret during the week from the pandemic, living by myself, that I should have like gotten super experimental in the kitchen, because I do really like to cook. I'm not any good at it. And I don't have a lot of things that I can do confidently. That would have been a time where, like, if I screwed up dinner, like, just zap some bagel bites or something and go and eat. Like, it's just me. Like, who cares? So I should have, like, done a little bit more cooking wise. I didn't do that. I just kind of stuck with the grilling meats and eating some veggies stuff. And like, that was, if I could, but I think that would be one regret I would have. Like, you feel, another one is theoretically, I could have like lost a bunch of weight. Like, you could have just gone running and eaten really healthy and done that. I did the opposite. We were playing an online board game, me and 4 or 5 friends, every single night at 8:30. We played Catan every single night online against each other at 8:30, and we all drank during that every single night. So that was probably not the healthiest and best way to go about things, but that's what we did. If I could go through the pandemic, I'd probably cook a lot more and maybe think about dropping 20 pounds, which would probably be doable. When you had less responsibility during COVID. There were really very little expectations on you, a lot of us professionally, because we didn't know what the hell was going on. So I could have probably used it a little bit better, but it's gone. Thank God.
All right, this one's from Brian Burgess, who says, what if Johnny Football had went to Texas instead of Texas A&M? Would they still be irrelevant? ?
That's interesting on both accounts, because he was so good in that A&M team he was on. I mean, keep in mind, Mike Evans, first-round pick. They had Matthews on the offensive line, first-round pick. They had, like, a lot of legit dudes on those teams. Ryan Swope was an all-conference receiver on those teams. Like, this is just off the top of my head thinking about this A&M team. I'm sure if I went back and looked, there's even more guys than I realized. But that A&M team in 2012 that LSU beat in College Station, that then went on and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, was very, very good. And he would have made Texas that good, I think, in Big 12. The question is how much did he do for A&M? And certainly financially it was big and all that kind of thing. But A&M had come to the SEC. They were going to get the SEC money. And without Manziel, someone would have flamed out immediately, and they would have gone and gone after the big fish. And they probably go after Jimbo at that point too. If Woodward's there, that's his guy. Like, I don't know that it alters the course of Texas A&M significantly if you take Manziel away. It changes that year and the next year and the Heisman and all that kind of stuff, but they were still going to go all in financially. They still had the oil and gas money. They still had the SEC money. They still had the separation from Texas they had never had. They would have gone after it. I think it would potentially have helped Texas out a little bit. I mean, I don't even remember who the coach was at that point. Was that Charlie Strong at that point?
Texas? Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it changes his... It changes his outlook for sure, because you've got a Heisman-winning quarterback. He took over at Texas in 2014, so no, it was before Strong. So it was the end of Mac Brown. That was when Mac Brown missed on Robert Griffin III and Johnny Manziel and Andrew Luck, and like all these Texas quarterbacks were going elsewhere and going nuts, and Mac Brown went. So it was still Mac Brown. I mean, I think that would have potentially resurrected Mac Brown a little bit instead of limping through to the end like happened there. So interesting thought there. We have one more.
Yeah, we got one more. It's I don't know how you say Goat 1. Yeah, he says, what if steroids were legal in all sports?
I mean, I think probably the answer here is that a lot of guys do it, and you've got a situation like didn't a lot of wrestlers die from a bunch of steroids? Like, I don't know anything about wrestling. I never watched any wrestling. I played the N64 game Revenge at my friend's house. I was Kevin Nash.
Nice.
But I don't know anything else about wrestling. I think having a lot of guys like died. Like, if you're pumping all that in there, like, that's just not good for the body. And so,
well, yeah, it definitely had a lot of adverse effects on a lot of the wrestlers.
and you would almost be required to do it because like you saw these guys bashing home runs in the 90s. Like if you're trying to compete with those guys and you're running this thing on the straight and narrow, and I just don't know if you can keep up. So, especially like playing linebacker, are you kidding me? These guys like able to, it would not be good. I don't think so. Let's go ahead and keep those out of sports. If you want to have some sort of separate home run derby league or long drive championship or powerlifting stuff where you do allow steroids just to see what the human body can do, I'll let you go ahead and do that. But in terms of the actual professional sports that we're going to do, let's go ahead and regulate that right on out and have some fairly healthy humans trying to compete in sports. So that'll do it for a What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for pumping those into the Bayou Ford chat. Got a couple on Twitter as well. So thank you for all of that. We'll take a quick timeout. When we do come back, LSU head volleyball coach Tanya Johnson is going to jump aboard. They're about to crank up their season here in the PMAC, and we had her on last year. Had a really solid first year here as the head volleyball coach. I want to talk to Coach Johnson coming up next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's storm season. Thankfully, very little activity down there in the Gulf. Haven't seen anything, but we know inevitably that's going to happen. And when it does, you need to have a home generator on the ready, and Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. Boudreaux's Electric is a family-owned and operated company right here in South Louisiana. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux, 40 years in the business. They are a certified Generac dealer. Better than that, they're a premier Generac dealer in the top 3% in the country in terms of providing people with Generac home generators. They can customize generators with different sizes. Maybe you want your whole house humming. You can do that. Maybe you just want to keep the fridge running. You can do that as well. It doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all situation. They will come out and assess your situation at Boudreaux's Electric and make sure that you've got the generator that you need. Every single generator purchase is going to come with a free 10-year warranty. A free 10-year warranty. And I tell you every day, they can monitor your generator over at Boudreaux's Electric. So if it fails at any point, whether you need it at that very moment or not, they'll know that it's not operating properly. They can come out and have a technician fix you right up. It's Boudreaux's Electric. They got the same phone number they have had for 40 years. If you want to get a home generator installed, call this number, 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it. We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Now, the Tiger basketball squad down to the Bahamas playing some scrimmages. We know the LSU football team out practicing in fall camp. But the first team always to get things rolling is LSU volleyball. We welcome on the head coach of LSU's volleyball team, Tanya Johnson, entering her second year at the helm. Tigers made the postseason for the first time in 4 years last year and won their first NCAA tournament match since 2014. Coach Johnson joins us in the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Coach Johnson, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. How do things feel today, a year from entering your first season as you approach year two?
Well, I can breathe a little bit. I think things have slowed down a little bit. I don't feel like everything's so fast. And so we've been able to get our feet under us, and it's been really good. So we're just our second day of training, and just so fired up to be back in the gym with our team.
Season starts first match Friday, August 25th against UCLA, who will come in to Baton Rouge. What did you accomplish with your team last year? What did it mean to get back to NCAA tournament play and to win a match in the NCAA tournament?
Well, obviously, it meant a lot especially to the older players who've just missed out, a couple of times in the last couple of years. And so, they put in the work over the summer and came in great shape, and they just got to work and battled every single day. And so I think, for where we were in terms of where the program was, it was a great statement for us, in our first year. And we're hoping to build upon that and advance further this year.
Look, a lot's been made of Brian Kelly entering his second year in football because of the success that Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson had in year two here. I know that y'all spend a lot of time together as coaches. I know that the athletes spend a lot of time together, dining hall, practices, study hall, whatever the case may be. But is that kind of intoxicating, that quick success and just understanding what the brand of LSU can be when it's at its best?
It's an absolute incredible time to be an LSU Tiger. And I take my hat off to Coach Mulkey and Coach Johnson for setting the bar really, really high. But it makes for exciting times, and what it does for our program in terms of how excited our players are to get back on the court and to compete again. It just makes for a great time to be a Tiger, and just, the brand and everybody recognizing that when you're out recruiting or you're walking through the airport, hearing people say, "Go Tigers." And so it's just an incredible time to be an LSU Tiger, and we'll ride those coattails for as long as we can. So congratulations to those guys and what they did in their second year. And I'm just praying and keeping my fingers crossed that we can have some success like that as well.
Tanya Johnson, LSU volleyball coach, is our guest. Tigers have tripled season ticket purchases from a year ago for this season. A lot of excitement around this LSU volleyball program. Tell me a little bit about your team. Got a couple of preseason All-SEC selections.
Yes, and so, we've got a good core group coming back with Sinead Dotson and Anita Onwusi leading the way. And just to have that experience, especially on the offensive side, is going to be huge for our program. And so we've got some good pieces. We've added some players in terms of some grad transfers, we added a grad transfer libero and a grad transfer setter, and so excited for them to be in the gym. Also, another transfer is Jay Demps, who transferred from Wisconsin, who won a national championship 2 years ago, and so bringing in her experience and being a part of a championship team, she knows what that looks like and what it takes, and so just super excited about the experience that we have, but also the core group of players that we have back to help us do that.
13 matches against 10 opponents who are participants in the 2022 NCAA tournament. A tough schedule, as all of them are in the Southeastern Conference, no matter what the sport may be, but a lot of excitement. As I mentioned, season tickets have tripled in since last year. LSUTix.net is where you can find your volleyball tickets for the season. Coach Tanya Johnson, we certainly appreciate a little bit of time. Let you get back into the gym, and we'll see you out there for the first match coming up Friday, August 25th against UCLA.
Thank you so much, and go Tigers.
That is Tanya Johnson, second-year volleyball coach. She has she's really infused a lot of life into that volleyball program. She's got a great staff. She is a Tiger, played at LSU, has coached at LSU, spent some time at Texas where they were a dominant program over in Austin, and has really done a heck of a job since hitting the ground running. And she said she can breathe now because you realize the situation. It's not just baseball, it's not just football. The same situation occurs in all these sports where you got to hit the ground and you got to go to the transfer portal and you've got to figure out how to assemble your roster year to year. And she was able to do something that LSU hadn't done since 2017. That was make the NCAA tournament, and they won a game for the match for the first time since 2013. So that's great work by Tanya Johnson. We appreciate her giving us a little bit of time here on this Wednesday. That's a fast-moving hour number one here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We opened things up, kind of gave my final thoughts on the Pac-12 dissolving, and I drew some comparisons to the professional golf world and the commissioners scrambling and fighting against massive money and how inevitable that is, and you understand where things are headed. So my final thoughts there on the Pac-12. J.D. Piquel was great from 1-3 Sports talking SEC quarterbacks. We talked A&M. We talked a little Ole Miss, Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, you name it, we hit it with J.D. Piquel of 1-3 Sports there at 1:15. And we had a One If Wednesday at 1:30 before LSU head volleyball coach Tanya Johnson jumped aboard. If you missed any of that, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and, of course, on YouTube, where we ask you every day to subscribe to our two football channels, Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. All football all the time on those two channels all year round. If you want your football content, you want it in digestible 10-minute intervals, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. We appreciate your subscriptions there. Busy hour number 2 is coming up. We're going to meet the freshmen at 2:15. Caleb Jackson and Kylan Jackson are your two freshmen, some physically imposing dudes from the state of Louisiana in the Baton Rouge area that we'll talk about at 2:15. Got some sound from Brian Kelly yesterday that we want to get to at 2:30. Of course, we always play Take It or Leave It to finish up the show. When we come back after SportsCenter, Matthew Bruni of On 3 is going to jump aboard. Matthew has been out at fall camp for the week that LSU's been out there. We'll also get a thought on the box scores coming out of the Bahamas with LSU basketball. That's with Matthew Bruni. Coming after SportsCenter. Come back with us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. One day after telling reporters some Commanders players had told him they were a little concerned about the intensity of new offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, head coach Ron Rivera was looking to clear up what he said. In a prepared statement, Rivera said he loves the overall message Bieniemy sent to players, and it boiled down to they have to learn to be comfortable when they're uncomfortable. Bieniemy has said he's not going to change. ESPN NFL analyst Booger McFarland.
Why should he? Because his track record of success speaks volumes. 5 straight AFC championship games, 2 Super Bowls. He's coached the best quarterback maybe in NFL history in Patrick Mahomes. So I think if you're Eric Bieniemy, you keep doing what you're doing because the Washington Commanders need a culture change.
Booger McFarland on Greeny. Former Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs III sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for a November 2021 drunken driving crash that killed a Las Vegas woman and her dog, could be eligible for parole in 3 years. Lionel Messi's MLS debut has been postponed. Now looks set to happen August 26 when Inter Miami visits the New York Red Bulls.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Now, on Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is on Palmer.
Hour number 2 on a Wednesday, half the work week in the rear view mirror. Thanks for hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hunt Palmer, Casey Gaines, and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. We'll meet the freshmen coming up here in 15 minutes. Got some sound from Brian Kelly that we'll get to. But first, let's jump out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline and chat with our guy Matthew Bruni from the Bengal Tiger part of the On3 Network. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, I'm doing well. There was no football practice today, so I'm not sunburned, not sweating. I feel good.
It's battle of the elements out there for the media. I understand. So we're a weekend. They've kind of put the pads on a little bit. One of the guys that I haven't asked much about with the guests that we've had rolling through over the last week is Mason Smith. Are you as high on him and the way that he's looked through a week as many are that haven't been out at practice and just kind of heard the name 5-star, got hurt last year, he's going to be a stud?
Yeah, I love Mason Smith. He's going to be really, really good. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a first-round pick in about, 9 months or so. I think he's that good. I think he's that level of player. Last year, most people expected him to be, all SEC first-team type of player. Obviously gets hurt first series of the season. But then this year, he's rehabbed, came back, looks sharp, looks spry, was able to go through individual stuff in the spring, and now is full go for the fall. So, yeah, I think Mason Smith's going to be really, really good.
We figure he's going to add a little bit of push in terms of rushing the passer, Mekhi Wingo a little bit as well. But on the edges, does LSU have what they need in terms of rushing the passer?
I think it's up for debate. I like Ovia Gofu, the transfer from Texas. I like Braden Swinson, the transfer from Oregon. Savion Jones, obviously, entering year 3, has high expectations. But overall, I still think this is a defense that's going to need Harold Perkins to be dynamic, whether that is off the edge, whether that's inside linebacker in different spots. I know they'll blitz him plenty, but they're going to need him to be a playmaker. And then I look at a 5-star freshman, Deshaun Womack, in a similar light of where we had Harold Perkins last year. Not saying he's going to be as dynamic, but I think he's too good to leave off the field. So, like I said, I like the starters and I like the experience, but I think you have to have Harold Perkins and Deshaun Womack as real game-changing type of disruptors.
Do you think LSU has enough at inside linebacker to move Harold Perkins, whether it's down to down or game to game?
I do. First of all, I love Omar Speights, the transfer from Oregon State, first team All Pac-12 last year. Incredibly versatile, covers really well. He's going to kind of take that Micah Baskerville role from last year, and I think he could very well be better than Micah Baskerville was. So I like Omar Speights. And then Greg Penn, who obviously started the entire year last year at linebacker, is kind of moved into that third role where he's kind of plugging in whenever Perkins moves around or just whenever they rotate. I still think Greg Penn is a fine linebacker. I'm not saying he's great, but I think he's serviceable for, if he plays 50% of the downs in a game. I think that's very much reasonable and doable. And then we got to figure out what the Weeks brothers can do, because I think Whit Weeks, the highly touted freshman, is going to be able to contribute, and his brother Wes Weeks is a veteran at this point. I think at the very least he's a solid rotation guy. So I think that they do have enough to move Perkins around.
A lot of folks a little concerned about corner. Now, we understand that the drills have much favored the wide receivers in terms of the structure of them. There's a lot of talent at wide receiver, too. Are you concerned with LSU's cover ability?
No, not really. I think that it is interesting to watch how this plays out, because there are so many names here that we try watching, and I think Zy Alexander has solidified himself as, in my opinion, quarterback number 1 through 1 week of practice. That could change. But then we look at Deuce Chestnut, who's not super big, not super long, but is very good positionally. You go down the list of if they move Greg Brooks down to nickel or Sage Ryan, I think both those guys can cover it perfectly fine. And then
Denver Harris?
Denver Harris is the one we're going to have to see. He really has not gotten any bite at first team. Hasn't gotten a ton of even second team stuff, so we're trying to figure out. And then obviously the fight happened on Monday, which didn't help. But still, we're gonna have to see if he can break into that top 2. At this moment, the second team has really been LaTerrence Welsh, a sophomore, and Ashton Stamps, a freshman. So it's a lot of musical chairs in the secondary right now.
You think there are going to be times where they play three safeties if you count Greg Brooks as a safety with Andre Sam coming onto the field?
Yes, I definitely do think that's going to be the case. Andre Sam has been one of the best surprises, I think. I knew he was going to be good out of Marshall because you just watched Marshall last year. You knew they were a well-coached defense, one of the better, top 20, 30 defense in the country. And he had a great game against Notre Dame last year. So I knew he'd be good as a sixth-year player. I just didn't expect him to be coming in and be so good that they're looking to maybe move Brooks back to nickel if they wanted to. I mean, he just kind of gives them that flexibility that Matt House has wanted in the secondary or at safety specifically. And so with that being the case, I think Andre Sampson has been one of the bright spots of the first week of camp.
So we've kind of painted the picture of the defense there. It's early, but we have some information from previous years. I mean, do you think this is a top 2 or 3 defense in the SEC? Do you think it's middle of the pack? What do you think of this as big picture?
I do think it is one of the top. Obviously, Georgia. I still think Bama's going to be really good defensively this year, even though last year they were kind of up and down. But I think LSU's in that realm of 3 or 4 for sure. I think top-end talent-wise, it's kind of my thought with the entire team, but defense especially, the top-end talent of this unit is right there with anybody in the country, obviously. Mason Smith, Mekhi Wingo, Harold Perkins, Omar Speights. If you just list those as being the top 4, I mean, that's a high-level top 4. I'll also throw Major Burns into that group. I think he's going to be really good. But then you get into the depth and the other guys that have to step up, and those are where the question marks are. And so I think it's fair for fans or media or anybody like that to question if the defense can live up to that high standard that we're setting of, all right, this defense is going to have to lead this team or be good enough to get this team to a playoff. And I don't know 100% if that's the case yet, but they do have the top-end talent to do that.
Chatting with Matthew Bruni, part of the On3 Network. He's Shea Dixon, Billy Embody, the Bengal Tiger on 3. Let's shift focus here a little bit to basketball. We obviously can't see it. They're in the Bahamas playing in a ballroom, but you checked out a couple of box scores. Anything jump out to you as they played 2 games?
Yeah, our boy Tyrell Ward has been awesome, man. We were banging on the table last year to get him on the court, and this year it looks like he's worked hard over the offseason, and through 2 games, I believe he's their leading scorer, and he's getting up a lot of shots, and he's been really efficient. So Tyrell Ward, former top 35, top 30 player in the country 2 years ago in his recruiting class. As a freshman, didn't play a ton this year. I'm expecting him to come in and be a nice, 12 to 14 point per game scorer for this team.
There's some concern based on the Florida State defensive lineman that didn't get a waiver that potentially Jalen Cook with his second transfer. I don't know anything. Do you know what the availability is of Jalen Cook as we move forward into the school year?
Yeah, when this first popped up, we reached out to sources on and around the team, and everything they heard was fine. It was all positive of Jalen Cook being good, and I believe he's not playing in the Bahamas right now because of a little injury that they're trying not to extrapolate. But yeah, I think he's going to be fine. We'll continue to check in with that as the season gets closer, but I believe he's good to go.
Is there a little part of you that would like to see 29 turnovers in a game like they had yesterday?
I'm glad I didn't watch it. That first game they had against Puerto Rico, a Puerto Rican team that had some former Division I players on it was pretty good, but still, 29 turnovers, and then the fact they allowed, I think it was 52 points in the second half was really troublesome. I will say yesterday they played much better against a much worse team, but still, first couple games, getting the feet under them. I still think this is going to be a better team this year. I'm just trying to figure out, how all the pieces work out.
Well, stay cool today. Stay hydrated. We'll see you back out there tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Matthew Bruni, part of the Bengal Tiger over there on 3. There's a lot of recruiting talk going on 3 right now. Billy Embody's posting some tidbits. Shay's on some tidbits about Colin Simmons and Caden Durham, and they'll actually announce 24 hours from right now at 2 o'clock during our show tomorrow. So we'll have, I'm sure, a huge reaction to that at 2:15 tomorrow. It's Billy. Let me look. Just let me humor me and let me go to On3's message board and see how many views Billy's post on Colin Simmons from this morning has gotten. It has gotten, where'd it go? There it is. 35,000 views in 6 hours. You think people care about recruiting? Man, it's a powerful thing. People are locked in on it. Just let me know what happens at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I'm not going to dive into what shirt he was wearing or what hashtag he put on Instagram today or what his mom might have tweeted or what car his girlfriend's driving. I'll just see what the announcement is tomorrow, and we'll give it to you right here on the air on the Hunt Palmer Show 24 hours from right this minute. All right, when we come back, we'll beat the freshmen.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. It's a collaboration that's going to provide patients in this region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. They'll include customized treatment plans, patient to patient. There'll be access to MD Anderson's protocols and practice standards. And the physicians with Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers. They're also going to offer clinical trials to select patients who are eligible. It's really, really exciting stuff for our area. There are going to be 7 locations that are providing expert care in New Orleans, St. Tammany, and right here in Baton Rouge. Right here in Baton Rouge, we'll have the Ochsner Cancer Center. They'll have a medical center in Kenner. They'll have one in St. Tammany. It's going to be fantastic, fantastic news. And the better news is that Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites moving forward. Cancer affects all of us. Ochsner and MD Anderson are doing everything they can to make sure that that's not the case. And they're taking step by step, and it's just really, really exciting stuff. If you'd like to learn more about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, go to ochsner.org. That is ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it. We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hear from Brian Kelly here coming up in 15 minutes. Moving right along here on a Wednesday. Half your work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's time to meet the freshmen.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen. Meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
2 a day, every day, until we get to them all here on Meet the Freshmen. We'll start with Caleb Jackson today. 6 foot, 225-pound running back from Liberty Magnet right here in Baton Rouge. This is a player who was hurt in his season opener as a senior, so didn't get a chance to put up the monster numbers in his final high school season. His junior year was good, 2,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. How about the yards per carry for Caleb Jackson in his junior season? 14.7 yards per carry. That good? I think it's pretty good. He also finished 4th place in the 4A 100 meters last year, 10.89. It's a pretty special skill set here. And you're talking about 6 feet, 225 pounds that can run at that level in the 100 in Louisiana high school track. He was a consensus 4-star, a top 13 running back in the country by every service. Alabama was in, A&M was in, Georgia, Oregon, but LSU, the hometown team, wins out with Caleb Jackson's recruitment. This is my hope as the next pro back there. I think John Emery has some skill and some ability, but he hadn't broken through. I think Noah Cain's a fine college running back. I think Josh Williams is a great story who's going to be LSU's likely starting running back and will do some good things. I think Armani Goodwin, when healthy, has got some ability to be shifty and to make guys miss and to create some big plays. But when you start talking about that lineage that we all know of the running backs, most of which are from Louisiana, that were big and physical and were the cornerstones of Les Miles' offenses and went on to NFL careers, I'm hopeful Caleb Jackson is the next one. I don't know. It's early. He hadn't played in 2 years. But you talk about, Adai and Hester. You talk about Brandon Toefield, Keelan Williams, Stephen Ridley, Darius Geis, Leonard Fournette, Jeremy Hill. Those guys who were mostly from Louisiana outside Spencer Ware was from Ohio, obviously. And even Clyde, who was a first-round pick. That's the guy I expect LSU to have in the backfield. And I just don't know that it's there right now in terms of the guys that are going to get the lion's share of the carries. And I don't think Caleb Jackson is going to carry the ball very much this year. We got 8 running backs. You would figure he's 7th or 8th on the pecking order list right now, even though Armani Goodwin's a little gimpy. And I don't know what Trey Bradford is at this point. But there's real potential there. And that package of side speed, strength is impressive. And I'm hopeful that he's the next guy. I saw him out at the first practice, and you look at him versus the other running backs, and he might be the biggest back on the team. He's taller than Noah Cain. Emery's got 4 years on him, but he's close to the biggest back on the team already. So I have high hopes for Caleb Jackson's career. I think I'm going to temper those expectations, especially early in this year, because there's just so much depth at the running back spot. Second freshman we're going to meet, another K. Jackson from Louisiana. What are the odds? They're okay. They're not that many signees. Kylan Jackson is the next one. 6'3", 196 pounds from Zachary High School. He is a safety. He started his freshman year at East Feliciana and was a starter for East Feliciana as a freshman. Transferred to Zachary. One of the stats I always like, I probably overreact to it, but I just think it shows some athleticism. It shows some instinct. It shows some ability. He blocked 2 kicks in the 2021 state championship game. I love that. That shows me a guy who's into the game, who's focused, who's twitchy, who's athletic, and I love that. He was the most outstanding defensive player in the All-Metro section of the Advocate last year. Consensus 4-star. A&M was in the mix a little bit late, but LSU won out to get the basically hometown guy again, in this case, from Zachary. 6'3", 196 is no joke. I mean, you look at Jamal Adams when he showed up at LSU as a freshman. On his freshman roster, Jamal Adams was listed as 6 feet, 206. Kylan Jackson listed as 6'3", 196. So 10 pounds lighter, but 3 inches taller. He probably more favorably compares to Grant Delpit when Delpit was a freshman at LSU, 6'3", 201. So Kylan Jackson is about the exact same size Grant Delpit was. Now look, those are two of the best safeties LSU's ever had, and both those guys came in with 5-star billings. Both those guys played as freshmen. Both of them went on to be high draft picks and great players. So I don't mean to heap the hype on Kylan Jackson from a productivity standpoint. I just mean to point it out in terms of measurables. This is a big dude. Like Sage Ryan was a 5-star safety at 5'10". He was a speed guy, athlete guy. This is a big dude, Kylan Jackson. And so you look at the safety room right now and you realize that you've got three really old players there. You've got Major Burns, you've got Greg Brooks, you've got Andre Sam. Sam is in his 7th year. Greg Brooks is in his 5th year. And then you look at Major Burns in his 4th year. Those guys are old. Those guys are going to play. We just had Matthew Bruni on in the last segment, and Bruni said, look, I think there's going to be a lot of time where they play 3 safeties because they trust Brooks to go down and play around the line of scrimmage. They trust Burns in the back end to kind of be the dude. And Andre Sam's a guy that they feel really good about. And that's a guy I've highlighted a couple of times as we've gotten to this week of camp is this guy's someone I didn't think of. He's going to play. So is there a direct route to the field for Kylan Jackson? There's not. Now, we've seen a lot of highly touted freshman DBs find their way to the field eventually. Like Tyrann Mathieu played immediately. So did Patrick Peterson. But like Tre'Davious White took a little bit of time and finally got his way on as a freshman. Same thing goes for Harold Simon. Same thing goes for Eric Reed on that 2010 team. They were guys that were highly thought of, Louisiana products, good size. Halloween or so, they find their way to some playing time. May start at special teams. He'll definitely play against Grambling. Maybe you run away from Mississippi State and he gets some mop-up time. I don't know. But when you look at these two guys that we've talked about, Caleb Jackson and Kylan Jackson, the potential is so great because the measurables are so good already. You don't have to wonder. Like, you can wonder about Trey Holly. Can a 5'7" running back hold up? Yeah, Chiron Carey did. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. You can worry about measurables with some of the guys in the signing class. Not these two. These two are Louisiana-bred horses that are eventually going to be really good players for LSU. They just happen to be right around the Baton Rouge area. And that's got to be, as we've talked about many times, so encouraging for Brian Kelly that he can hop in the car, murdered out Tesla as it is for BK, and drive 20 minutes and get to Kylan Jackson and drive 6 minutes and get to Caleb Jackson from campus. And these two guys are, top 20 players in the country at their position, top 10 in some cases, depending on where you want to look. So those are our two freshmen for today, Caleb Jackson and Kylan Jackson. Still got a ways to go. Tomorrow on Meet the Freshmen, we'll talk about Whit Weeks and Kamori and Pimpton. You've probably heard a lot about Pimpton to this point. Probably not as much about Weeks. Get to Shelton Sampson and Javian Toviano to close out the week. And then we'll finish things off with Deshaun Womack and Zalance Hurd coming up to finish things off on Monday. So we're getting close to the end of Meet the Freshmen, which means we're getting deeper into camp, getting closer to the kickoff, which is a very, very good thing. So that is our edition for today of Meet the Freshmen. We'll take a timeout. A lot of sound from Brian Kelly. We'll get to that next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it. We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Have an hour left with you here on this Wednesday. You know, obviously, this time of year, we love to talk about how the quarterbacks look and that accuracy. They got some zip on the ball. They're hitting the deep ball. What do the wide receivers look like? They dropping balls and making catches. How much weight's that defensive lineman look? He's in good shape. Oh, what about those two freshmen? Are they going to play? And that's where we are this time of year, and we go out there to practice, and we bring you the information back here, and we talk about it, take questions, and it's talking season, and we talk about a lot of football. But the biggest story of LSU's camp thus far has had nothing to do with football, and we haven't talked about it a lot here because we don't have very much information about it. But we do know that Jimmy Lindsey has been in the hospital. First-year defensive line coach, LSU hired him over from South Carolina, And finally, yesterday, Brian Kelly spoke to the situation a little bit.
We've gotten great reports. Jimmy, I believe, is going to be released from the hospital either today or it's really soon. There's a long road of recovery ahead for him. And then there's other things that he's going to have to handle that are, personal and private for the family that they're going to have to deal with. But very encouraging, just the fact that I'm able to talk about it in terms of, leaving the hospital. Really, really happy for Jimmy, and certainly Lauren, his wife, who's been there by his side every day.
So Jimmy Lindsay was born in 1977. So he's not an old man. He's a young man by relative standards. He's got a daughter, Kiara. I mentioned his wife, Lauren, there. And so you've certainly sent so many well wishes and thoughts and prayers to that family and what's been obviously a very scary situation. Again, I have no idea what happened. The severity, the ailment, I no idea. But it's great to hear that there's been some positive news and that hopefully he is discharged and can go home very soon. So that's the most important thing. But there's also a football aspect to it, and that LSU's football program continues on as Jimmy Lindsay enters the recovery portion of this ordeal. And that involves John Jancic and Bob Diaco. And Brian Kelly spoke to John Jancic stepping in one day prior to camp starting.
I recruited John. John played for me. He was a coordinator for me, winning a national championship, coaching the defensive line, coached with me at Central Michigan, Cincinnati. He's coordinated in the SEC. So you have an experienced coach who knows how to build relationships with players. I don't think we miss a beat there at all. Excited about his ability to teach the techniques, and he works really well with Matt too. So, you have not only somebody that has the experience, but, we saw what he did with, really working as an analyst, but working with Harold Perkins last year, I think you would say he did a pretty good job. So I feel really good about that.
Yeah, whoever unleashed Harold Perkins last year, thumbs up for that. That was well done. Look, I'm not here to debate the merits in technical defensive line work that Jimmy Lindsay knows versus what John Jancic knows. They never taught me defensive line. But I can tell you that John Jancic's coached a lot of football. He's been a coordinator in the SEC at Tennessee. He's worked with Brian Kelly. This is not promoting a graduate assistant who's been, watching tape with a pencil behind his ear in a dark room for 2 years. This is a football coach lifer who's ascended to pretty high marks in this profession. So I think John Jancic will be just fine coaching the defensive line, but it's a different role than he would have had. He was going to help with the outside linebackers, help with the special teams, and they were going to kind of reshuffle the staff in that way. Well, now he's got to devote his time to working with defensive linemen, so there's got to be somebody to step in and kind of fill the shoes that he was in, and that's where Bob Diaco comes in.
Bob Diaco, again, another guy that has been with me at a number of different stops, a great teacher, highly energetic. I know our special teams guys love coming to the meetings. He brings, like I said, a great passion to those teams, which I think we all know the game of special teams, sometimes you need that. And I know that we're going to be sound fundamentally, and those guys are going to enjoy playing for him.
Look, you can coach a number of different ways. John Chavis had great defenses at LSU, and he screamed the entire practice. Dave Aranda had great defenses at LSU. He never screamed once. He barely talked. Steve Ensminger was out there. He's not yelling at anybody. He's pointing, drawing on a clipboard. Like you can be super energetic, super loud, or you can be super technical and super. You just be a communicator. Works either way. I can tell you this. I went out to practice the first day. Bob Diaco, he's one of the loud ones. He is out there. He's running around. Nothing he said was demeaning. He wasn't jumping anybody's case. He was just, they're going through drills. They're running through cones. They're hitting bats. He's yelling. He's into it. He's energetic. And that's kind of what you like in special teams. You got to get guys fired up to get rolling in special teams. And I think that Bob Diaco will do a good job with that. The special teams has been controversial from last year. We don't need to revisit the entirety of all that. We know that the production was atrocious. That's beyond debate. How much of that was directly at the feet of Brian Polian, I would slightly push back on. Catch some punts, okay? Don't be offsides on the kickoff. These are pretty simple things. But the decision was made to move those two guys, John Jancic and Bob Diaco. These are veteran coaches. Diaco's been a defensive coordinator for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. He's been a head coach. He's been around again. It's not another GA who was fetching water bottles for the other coaches as of 3 weeks ago. These are football lifers that are coming in. On the other side, a guy that is not new to the job, finally, is offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock. And Brian Kelly spoke yesterday about how Denbrock's a little bit more comfortable in year 2.
Just on a day-to-day basis, his comfort level with, what we're doing on a, from an offensive perspective, I think, he clearly knows the direction that we want to take, and there's no hesitancy. He doesn't feel like he has to keep me happy or, hey, I'm doing this for you. He knows exactly what's expected, and he can go without having to look over his shoulder. And because of that, he's assertive, makes those decisions that are in the best interest of the offense, and whether it's personnel or other, and, it makes for a great working relationship.
There are times where a coaching shakeup is a really good thing. I don't think anybody would argue that Dave Aranda coming in to run LSU's defense was not a good thing. I think we can all agree that Joe Brady coming in to lend a helping hand with LSU's offense was a good thing. I think we can all understand that when John Chavis took over for the Todd Mallory, Bradley Dale Pivito defense in 2009, that was a really good thing. Like, sometimes a new voice, a fresh voice is very, very good. But this program needed some continuity. You were going from Ensminger to help with Brady, then to Peets, then to Denbrock. It was just on the offensive side. You were going from Aranda to Pelini to Durante Jones to Matt House. Like, it was year after year. You were overhauling both coordinators. You have not been able to sit down and breathe since 2019. So the fact that Matt House and Mike Denbrock are back, I think is a huge positive for LSU. You're not going to keep those guys forever. I think that House is destined for a head job quick. If LSU's good on defense this year, I'd be surprised if he's back. That's part of it. Denbrock, I feel a little bit differently about. I don't know him very well. I've interviewed him twice for the pregame show, but those are 5-minute conversations, and I get out of their way and let them go to work. It's Wednesday or Friday of a game week. They got better things to do than yap with me. But he likes Brian Kelly. He likes in Baton Rouge. He's got a good thing going with LSU's quarterback situation, and should be in a pretty comfortable professional place, unless somebody comes calling and wants him to be a head coach. But it's just good to have those two guys back. And you can run practices the same way, and you can use the terminology the same way, and the film sessions can go the same way. And yeah, if that happens for 18 consecutive years, maybe it gets stale. 2, I think you can handle. I think that's a positive. And I think it's really good that LSU's got 2 coordinators back that I think did a good job last year. We've talked a lot about kind of the way that I was grading the coordinators last year, and I just thought the fact that Matt House could pitch a shutout in the second half against Mississippi State, could pitch a shutout in the second half against Ole Miss, could pitch a shutout in the second half against Auburn, could do some of those things in the second half when both sides have kind of felt each other out. I thought that was incredibly impressive. I thought that Mike Denbrock moved the football with ease at times. Florida, 6 straight touchdowns. Bama, they moved the football. It was a little bumpy in College Station, but most of the year, they were really good. It was a little bumpy in Fayetteville, too. Cold, quarterbacks hurt. Can be tough. But more often than not, I thought LSU was prepared, executed, adjusted in game, and had positive results on both sides of the ball. So I just think it's a very positive thing that they bring back both of their coordinators. Of course, there's a little bit of a shuffle up with your position coaches, and you were dealt an unexpected situation, not unlike Steve Cragthorpe prior to 2011 when Steve Crackthorpe came in, was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and they had Greg Shadrawa jump in and call the plays where he probably wasn't prepared to do that as of this August 1st. But if you've got a strong staff and the fact that you're able to bring on analysts who can help and then can be put into roles where you're not hiring from outside your organization, it's a comfortable situation that Brian Kelly has set this staff up in. So I think that's all very, very positive. They'll be back on the practice field tomorrow. We'll have a practice report for you. Certainly get to more Saints talk tomorrow as well. But when we come back, we'll play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 3 decades, renovating, redesigning bathrooms and closets. They can do a full-scale bathroom renovation, soup to nuts. They can do the whole thing. You can make one phone call to David Duvall. He comes out, handles a consultation, shows you what they can do, puts a plan together, customized for you, shows up on time, completes the job, and you never pick up the phone again. And I can promise you this, they'll do it the first time and leave the competition behind. You can also do something simple that's not a full-scale bathroom remodel. Tub-to-shower conversion. You don't have a pushing 2-year-old like I do who's taking a bath and splashing all over the place like a maniac every night. You don't use your bathtub. Well, take it out. Put in a gorgeous walk-in glass shower. Changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom. And if you get a bathroom renovation and a closet renovation from One Bath and Closets, 10% off for Hunt Palmer Show listeners. 10% off. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, request that free consultation, look at some of the great reviews, see pictures of their great work, and make a change in your home today. onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. The Tigers have the day off from fall camp, but the Saints are back at it. We'll be in Metairie getting you a Saints training camp report. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, half your work week in the rearview mirror. It is a Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you hanging with us. Matt Moscona about to drive you home. I'll tell you about that later. First, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Auburn announced that the oaks planted in 2017 are now stable enough to be rolled. Rolling tumors oaks. Take it or leave it.
Beck, you don't know this. You do know that I'm the uniform czar. I'm the foremost authority on all things uniforms. I'm also the foremost authority on all things SEC tradition. I determine what is good, what is bad.
Okay.
Rolling Tumors Oaks at Auburn is good. Is it a little goofy? Yeah. Is it a place where they can go to celebrate wins? And you know what? You can kind of wake up on Sunday, and if you're driving out of town via campus and you see that everything's been rolled, kind of puts you in a good mood to start your Sunday morning, that the Tigers got a big win in Jordan-Hare. I think that's fine. It's a little goofy. It's not nearly as cool as the Eagle flying in pregame, but it's part of Auburn. I like it. I think it's terrible that Harvey Updike poisoned the trees and then called Feinbaum to tell him that he poisoned the trees. But I'm glad they brought in the new oaks. They put them there. I've seen those oaks rolled in 2010. It was a sad sight for me to see. I'm in on rolling the Tumors Oaks. I'll take it.
I'll take it. Rory McIlroy and John Rahm have clinched spots in the upcoming Ryder Cup. You're scared. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. If you would have told me this as of like a year ago, no chance. But JT's kind of fallen off a cliff. We've lost DJ. We've lost Bryson probably. Like the core of that team that just wiped the floor with Europe at Whistling Straits is a little shaken. And you're talking about bringing on, Wyndham Clark and
Ricky Fowler's back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. I don't feel as good about it, and we never went over there. So we got some time. Guys got to find some form. But yeah, Rahm and Rory are a bit of a problem.
They'll have Hovland as well, of course.
They will have Victor Hovland. They'll have a number of pretty good players. I think our team will be deeper. Theirs probably with a little more juice at the top.
Yeah.
End, so that's just kind of the way it goes.
My wife just got on the wait list for Taylor Swift tickets next year. I should be worried. Take it or leave it.
Well, you can look at it two different ways. If you get the tickets, you're going to have to pay for them, which are not just grossly astronomical when you purchase them firsthand. But they are going to cost some money, and that's something you could be scared about. But on the flip side of that, it could be a great opportunity. I will tell you that my wife just went out to Taylor Swift. Stayed with her friend out there. Well, her friend got on, and she bought 6 tickets. So she got to sell 4 tickets, and she made cash. So I don't believe your wife got on the list to sell tickets, but it is a financial opportunity for your household if you get these tickets, because these people are nuts. My wife put back in to register for these, like you have to do. For those that don't know, to get Taylor Swift tickets, you have to register to get a number.
Yeah.
And if you get a number, you've got a chance to get in the lottery. If you don't, you've got a chance to get on the wait list.
Right.
My wife doesn't know anybody that even got the top level. Like, some are on the wait list. Most just got declined. My wife got declined. Yep. So she's doing 3 shows in New Orleans. The Dome seats about 70,000. With floor seats, we're thinking about 85,000.
Yeah.
So what's 85,000 times 3? I don't do maths.
I don't either.
85 times 3. That's 255,000 tickets.
That's a lot.
That were available, and they've got more than that on request. She has taken over pop culture. She owns it. She's got these people under spells. I mean, some of her music's fine, but goodness gracious. But yeah, you can be worried, but probably not.
All right, last one. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan said Wednesday that he took a month-long leave of absence from his position because of anxiety that he had after completing the LIV PGA deal. We should have sympathy for Monahan. Take it or leave it.
Look, I'll take it on its face. Like, anxiety can be a serious deal. Heart problems. I don't wish any ill on someone, but this is the job. Like, his job is to run the tour, and it pays really well. So I think he handled it pretty poorly from start to finish. I laid out everything at the top saying, when you're fighting that much money, there's only so much you can do. But the deal where he went around the back of the chicken coop on the players and signed this deal without telling anybody can't happen when you talk about how much of a player-led organization you have. I think he tried to involve players and tried to hold meetings and tried to do the best that he could. But at the end, to go behind their backs when a lot of them have turned down a lot of money to be loyal to the PGA Tour, it's a tough look. And if that's what brought him anxiety, then, that's he brought a little bit of that on with some poor decision making in his job. Like, sometimes people don't sign up for things that happen to them in life and it's tough to deal with. Jay Monahan accepted the position of commissioner of the PGA Tour. I don't think anybody necessarily saw a rival tour with Saudi oil money coming right at his throat, but anything's possible in that realm. And I didn't know what the situation was with his health, but that makes sense. It was a big deal, and he got a lot of flack and had a lot of people very unhappy with him. So I hope he's feeling better. I hope he's doing better. I hope he's healthy and happy. But this is the position, and it was a tough go for the PGA Tour and LIV. So that'll do it for Take It or Leave It here on this Wednesday. The Saints were on the practice field today. We'll get some reports on that tomorrow from Luke Johnson. Looking forward to chatting with Luke again on a Thursday. LSU back at it tomorrow. Media will have availability to go watch that, so we'll get some thoughts from LSU back on the practice field tomorrow. You're kind of grinding through camp. You get into week 2. Week 3 of camp's kind of the worst one because you can't really see the game, but you're still crashing helmets and it's still hot. But we're moving the chains here as we get towards the goal line of football season when we got 3.5 weeks left to go. If you missed any of today's show, here's kind of what we hit. I gave my kind of final thoughts on the Pac-12 dissolving and compared it to the PGA Tour and LIV with the big money coming from elsewhere and trying to keep everybody together. It was tough for Klavikov and for Jay Monahan, but I gave my thoughts on that at 1 o'clock. JD Pickell of On3 Sports talked SEC quarterbacks at 1:15. Was a What If Wednesday. What if you could relive through the pandemic? What would you change? That was one of the questions that we talked about. Tanya Johnson, LSU volleyball coach, joined us at 1:45 to talk about their season, which cranks up in a couple of weeks. Matthew Bruni from On3 talking some LSU football and a little bit of LSU basketball as well at 2 o'clock. Then we met the freshmen, Caleb Jackson, running back, Kylan Jackson at safety, before we got to a little Brian Kelly sound on his coaching staff at 2:30. If you missed any of that or all of that, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcasts, you can find us. You can always find us on YouTube as well. We want you to subscribe. Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Tomorrow's show is brought to you by Rouse's. We talking Saints and LSU. Matt is about to do the same. He's going to drive you home on After Further View. We're back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Hunt Palmer Show, 1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The world's leaders in obesity research,